So good evening, everyone from Australia. But if you are from India or other countries, maybe it's still it's still good afternoon, I think. So welcome for the session with the special issue. As you all know that we will be publishing two special issues associated with this conference. That is, one is Pacific Basin Finance Journal, and the other one is Economy and Finance. So we intend to publish around 20 papers, roughly. So if you are really keen to submit a paper for those journals, then we have developed a process. Then the Duong from Monash and Lily Nguyen from University of Queensland, they will serve as guest editors for those issues. So they will be telling briefly about the process, what you need to do, because we understand that there may be an issue about submitting a paper to the journal without properly developing it. So then you may be paying fee many times. Second round, third round, and fourth round. So we don't want to incur that one. So we would like to see that you have presented the paper at the conference. So they will guide you what you should do to improve the quality of the papers and raise the standard of the paper. Raise the standard of the paper, then you don't need to worry too much about these paying too much fee. So what I would like to do is I would like to pass it on to Hugh and Lily. They will talk about the process. Thank you.
Yep, many thanks, Bala. So hi everyone, my name is Hugh. Let me share the screen. Okay, so I will briefly mention about the paper selection process, and then Lily will take over from me when she will discuss why you should consider the special issues rather than the normal submissions. So there will be two stages in the paper selection process. And before we start stage one, I would highly encourage you to incorporate the feedback you have from the conference before you start stage one. So stage one is the expression of interest. So if you are interested in the special issues, you should send an email of the paper and then the executive summaries to Bala. And then not only your papers, but we want to see the executive summaries, which contain the following points. So your main research questions, main motivations, contributions and implication of the works, why the paper will extend the current literatures and in what ways, and what will be the practical or regulatory implication of the work. And most importantly, how the paper aligns with the journal's objectives. So there are two special issues for Accounting Finance and Pacific Basin Finance journals. So you would need to think which journals will fit better with your paper's findings and questions and implications. And this is where you will specify the journals that you are targeting in stage one. So the paper that are selected in stage one will receive an invitation to formally submit to the journals. So you should specify that submitting to Accounting Finance or Pacific Basin Finance journal. And the paper will still go through a normal peer review process, meaning that you will still got reviewers and you will still need to address reviewer comments. And once the reviewers and the guest editors reach a final conclusion that the paper is publishable, that is when the paper will be accepted at the Accounting Finance or PPFJ. And one special thing with these two special issues is that we will invite the reviewers to write some short discussions of the accepted papers. So in this short discussion, the reviewers of your papers will discuss your main findings, your contributions, your implications, as well as any direction for future research. So we would like to see some discussions or some identification of future research so that we can carry on this research direction of the paper that are accepted for the special issues further in future research. So that are the two stages involved in the paper selection process for the special issues. So I would now pass it on to Lily to discuss why you would consider the special issues rather than the normal submissions to the two journals. Lily, you're muted. Yeah.
Unmute yourself. Unmute. Okay.
So hi everyone. So let me have a quick. So I'm Lily from the University of Queensland. Thanks Bala for giving me this opportunity, and thanks everyone for attending this section. And I will talk about only one point: why special issues rather than direct submission to the journals. In my opinion, I think you have advantages that you should consider these special issues. The first one, I make it as a dot point here, the general information. Both journals, I think they are good journals with high impact factors. And according to ABCD rating, they are both A-rated journals. So you should consider them if you think your papers are fitted in this with these journals. And the second advantage, the second point, and I think it is for these special issues, why you should consider, why you should submit to the special issues here. So in my opinion, I think the option to submit to the special issues here is similar to the option, similar to a core option where you already hold a long position. And then you should consider exercise it when it is in the money. So you lose nothing, right? So that means that your papers is eligible because you presented at the conference already, while many other papers, they are not. So they are not eligible. So that's the advantage. And the other advantage is that we aim to have up to 20 quality papers from the conference for the special issues. So meaning that the chance of getting accepted is quite promising, in my opinion. Of course, then we need a quality papers, but what I mean here is that the probability of being accepted is a bit higher, is a bit more than 50%, in my opinion. And another important advantage, I think, is that apart from the comments and feedbacks you will receive from the reviewers for the journal, you will receive the feedbacks and comments and mentoring from guest editors on, for example, how to improve your paper, how to strengthen your paper for the journal. For example, you will receive the comments, feedbacks on the research question, whether you strongly motivate your paper, or whether the research question is interesting enough. Or you will receive feedbacks on whether you strongly highlight the new findings or the contribution of your paper to the literature and to the journals as well, or whether your paper has been thoroughly executed or not, especially attention will be given to some the methodology, new methodology, for example, the endogeneity, whether you have handled it in a good way, or whether the paper is polished, or whether the introduction, at least the introduction, is well written and polished and sells the story in the best way. And the final advantage is that we've got the target publication date, but the time frame is quite flexible. So here, as he presented earlier, this expression of interest or stage 1 is due in June 2021. So it means about 2 months, in 2 months time. So hopefully you will have enough time to incorporate the comments and feedbacks from the conference. That is the stage one. And then the call for the special issues will be out in July or August this year. And then the publication, the target publication date is from middle of next year. But of course, everything here is quite flexible. It's quite flexible. And then how flexible it is, I don't know, but Bala told me everything is quite flexible. So I think that's all the information from me. Thank you. And then now I think it's time for Q&A.
Yes, please. If you have any questions, you can enter your question in the chat box. The flexibility is meaning that's only about the dates. But there is no flexibility for quality. You need to have the quality, incremental contribution is ultimate important. So if we are targeting a Pacific Basin, then you need to demonstrate that why the Pacific Basin Finance Journal has to publish that paper in that journal. So as a guest editors, so the Lily and he will be my guest editors, and I will be the managing guest editor. So we need to decide how your paper contribute and how that will have an impact for the research in this region. We are not thinking about that you are developing a paper to publish a Journal of Finance. We are thinking about you are developing a paper to publish at Pacific Basin Finance. But you all know that Pacific Basin Finance Journal has high impact factor, and that's in top 25% of the business journal. That's in the Q1. So we wanted to maintain that standard. So we would like to, but at the same time, I think that's this conference was, the 11 years ago, we started off with this conference to improve and guide the people who are in the disadvantaged area. For example, not from, not developed countries, or maybe developing countries, they may not have enough resources to go to the good conferences. So we were providing those sort of opportunities, and this time we are using the online version. We are guiding. So we wanted to see that the objective for us, for people who wanted to publish their first A journal or second A journal, guide them. So that's why we have a process of understand the process, improving the quality of the work, understand how to write the introduction. Then you will be writing a 2 pages executive summary about what is about. So let's say that if we are getting a paper, just for example, that the Terry Walter has an outstanding research career in Australia, and he is contributing to the community strongly. So for example, we give it the Terry that 2 pages of executive level report. He may be thinking that, oh, Bala, this is nice, interesting area. Just an example. Yeah, don't get offended, Terry there. So interesting, then he may feel that, okay, this has a strong potential, then I may be interested to look at that and guide this author, and I wanted to be as a discussant for the paper as well. So you need to send me a paper in those executive summary, 2 pages or 3 pages. So that's why we are doing an informal way of providing the feedback. Then we invite you to submit to the journal. So the second round, the paper will be published. So that sort of angle we are looking at. So if you have any question, comment, I think
there's some question, Bala. So I'll read.
There's a question, Bala.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first one probably is to you, Bala. Do you have any deadline to send expression of interest, or we just need to send by the end of June?
No, I mean you can't send it. You can't send anything to before end of May. So that's what it means. Let's say that you are an author, you receive feedback, then you see that the critical comments, then after attending few other sessions, you know how the research paper has to be written, and then how improve the quality or contribution. You may be spending even 3 months, 4 months. So you should be able to let us know that in June, you have an vested interest. You have an interest to target the special issue, and you wanted to work on that one. So then we will be looking at, and then you can say that what's your status of the paper, current abstract, and what you are going to do to improve the quality of the paper. Because we are targeting this paper to publish, in the journal, publish by, the mid-July next year to December. So that's the idea. So those who have presented the paper, they understand it. So they need to improve the quality of the work. So we facilitate that one. So the flexibility comes only in the Lily's angle mentioned that comes here. Be a bit flexible to guide you. You come back and say that you can't do it in 2 months. You need 4 months. We look after that. But you need to do a solid work on those 4 months to see that you demonstrate that. So that's sort of, different approach we are trying to, and as I mentioned that a bit earlier, welcome session, that we are innovative. So we wanted to see that whether this innovative things is working. And we were improving or mentoring, the Pacific Basin managing editor is, so he is in the promoting using a pitching and improving. So we wanted to improve and guide the people in a proper way, not compromising with the quality. So that's what the idea. Hope that I answered their question, Hugh.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on to the next one. Question is, I want to ask, how do we submit expression of interest? I think you can email Bala, the conference chair. So probably everyone would know his email by now. So yes, just email your papers and expression of interest on executive summaries to Bala, and then Bala can distribute among us to manage that process. Okay, the next question. So when we come to know that our paper has been selected for publication or not. So Bala and Lily, do you want to say anything?
No, because you will be, you can send the executive summary and the latest version of the paper to the FMC 2021. So it's not that email will be there. So you can send it. So I will have access to that one. So then whether your paper has been selected is I think you may haven't read that the slide, or you didn't listen the comments from the talk from the Hugh and Lily properly. They were saying that you need to feel that executive summary, that 2 pages you have highlighted why the paper has strong incremental contribution in relation to existing literature. It's not just, I'm just replication of work from US in India, or replication of work from US in China. You need to say that why, and then why the institutional setting is different, and why the results is consistent with the other countries or inconsistent with the other countries. You need to demonstrate all those things. So then you need to develop the paper and send the executive summary. We look at it, then we go to the next process. So when we invite you to submit to the journal, we will be identifying the reviewer. If reviewer is interested to publicly acknowledge that he is going to be the discussant of the paper, and then he will be identifying as a discussant and writing the note there. If no referees are interested, it will go to the special issue but normal review process. First round, second round, or third round. But because we make initial cut that, we decide that, okay, you can submit a paper. So it's most likely that paper will eventually be published. Otherwise we wouldn't. Clear?
Yeah. I think that's another question about stage 1. So I think we have discussed that, and the session is recorded very briefly, that you will need to send your expression of interest with your papers and your executive summaries to explain your research question, motivation, contributions, and why it is related or suitable for certain journals in stage 1. So hopefully with the recording, you have further details on that process. Okay. Does it mean that there are only 20 papers that clear the expression of interest stage and move on to the second stage?
Let's say that, hypothetical, 50 papers submitted. All 50 is outstanding. Why we stop it there? All those 50 papers should demonstrate that that's an outstanding work. And let's say that I just give an example. So looking at the Poonam Mahajan, say, submitted a paper and it has all those strong contribution there. If I see that, oh, if we accept this paper published, within 2 years or 3 years, people will be citing Poonam Mahajan that, this is the work she has done, then we are extending that work, blah, blah, blah. Those are the papers we are much interested. So if the question is what the contribution or what the quality. But remember, we are not thinking about your contribution and quality in terms of general finance or general financial economics or corporate finance or banking finance. But we wanted to raise our Pacific Basin to maintain the quality. So it's a relative term. So there is no worry about this paper. You need to read at least, let's say that you are working on insular ownership, put it that way. You need to go and read 10 papers published in Pacific Basin, what they are, or 5 papers published in Pacific Basin, what they talk about and how they write the contribution, how they write the introduction, how they develop the research question. You need to look at that and develop your work. And you need to cite those relevant papers. If you have attended Tom Smith talk today, so you should have understood that, you need to make sure that you discuss those related relevant literature and develop the paper.
Yep.
Okay.
Next question, can the slide be distributed to us as Ms. Sampath? I'm happy to do so, but I'll leave it to the conference organizers because this is part of the conference presentation. In the case the paper is being rejected, can we still submit through the normal submission process? I think the answer is yes. Would studies with a US sample be eligible? So probably Lily, you can say something because Bala and I probably talk too much.
I'm not sure, but with accounting and finance, for sure, with the US sample, you can submit to accounting and finance. But with the other journals, it's the Pacific Basin Finance, I am not sure.
No, the Pacific Basin Finance Journal only focus on Asia Pacific. So any countries, Asia Pacific, otherwise international. Because US itself, it will not work. Otherwise, you need to have a unique paper on US. Then you need to have a larger section that why your finding can be easily extended for other markets and why that has to be extended the other market. It may be at the big ask, I think.
Yeah, I think the latest question is how many papers that you aim to have for stage 2? Bala and Lily would have opinion. My opinion is quality is the key. So as long as it's past the quality expected for the 2 journals, and we're happily to move it to stage 2. So Bala and Lily, you want to add anything?
No, we concur with your comment.
Quality is important. And also, as Bala highlight, we do not expect like the quality has to be similar to the submission to JFE or JF, but well written, polished, and thoroughly executed in the best way that you can. And important is fit the journals. Like for example, like it has to be the Asia Pacific data or US data. Yeah, this kind of thing.
I think you read 10 papers in Pacific. We are targeting Pacific Basin to read 10 papers in your area. Not necessarily insular ownership. At least you can, if working on the insular ownership, then read these governance papers. If you are working on these asset pricing, read 10 papers on the asset pricing. So that will give you a bit of perspective.
Okay, so we have a question when we have decision on stage 1 submission. So probably Bala is the best person to answer that because he's receiving all the EOI.
Yeah, I think so. The expression of interest, because we only bang on those 2 pages, so we normally, it will take roughly, because everyone has a busy schedule with this COVID, and the COVID environment, you don't know that where that waves comes. We are going through the first wave at Victoria, the second wave in Victoria, and in case 3rd wave comes, maybe in 2 months' time, you submit it today, and then in 2 months' time you submit, and the COVID wave start at that time, and who knows, it may take months to get back to you. But realistically, we will be trying to get that sorted out a couple of weeks, or in general 1 month. On average 1 month. But we are not saying that when we say that your paper is not up to the level, we are not shutting the door for you. We will be telling you that what you have done in your executive summary, you are not convincing us. So we will ask you to convince us. I think that's all. I think we have
that's all the question
answered all the question, and we only have 2 more minutes.
Can affiliation be edited at later stage?
I really don't understand the question. You answer.
The institutions, I think so. Yeah. So it will be the normal process when you're submitting to journals, and if you change your institution, you will need to notify. If your paper is eventually accepted, you need to make the final decision before you submitting the final version to the journals. Yes, it can be.
I think it can be, yes, definitely, because with the other journals, and the same, when you change the institution affiliation, when you are still submitting or in the process of submitting and publishing the paper, and then still you can.
Yeah, so there's a request for showing stage 1 slide again. Sure, I will share my screen again. So this is stage 1. So hopefully you can take a photo of that, and then yeah. All right, that's all the questions so far.
So I think this 6 o'clock, because we have another sessions at 6:30. So I think we need to go. We can wait 1 minute. If any one questions comes, we can just answer it. Otherwise, more done.